Kody, did you listen to the latest drop on Kody and Korbin podcast feed?
Oh shit. I actually did not. I listened to like the first 10 minutes and then I forgot to go back to it.
Fake fan, fake co-host of the podcast audio, Kody.
You know how I have like a list of like movies and stuff? That is on the very bottom of the list, which means it's high priority, but I haven't looked at it for a couple of days. So that's tough.
Appreciate it. If you haven't checked it out, Mina and I are doing MK300. So go listen to that. It's a new little series of shorter form episodes. It's going to be more like 20, 30 minutes. So a little bite-sized about increasingly random movies. Plenty of movies that we could talk about normally between Kody and I, and also some that we would probably never touch on this particular podcast. So going to be some fun stuff over there. We're going to keep doing what we're doing here. And today, welcome back to Kody and Korbin Have a Podcast, the show where two former roommates talk about Talladega Nights, the Ballad of Ricky Bobby.
Guess how fast we're going now?
I don't care, I'm having a baby! You just passed the hospital!
Ricky Bobby was born
Mama, I'm going fast!
to become the fastest man alive.
That's my boy, Ricky!
Dear Lord, baby Jesus, I want to thank you for my family. My two beautiful sons, Walker and Texas Ranger, and of course my red-hot smoking wife, Carly.
Woo! Ow!
You know, it might be cool sometime you could set me up for a win.
You can't have two number ones.
Yeah, you can. That makes 11.
But no man stays on top
Absolutely, ma'am. I'd love to sign your baby. You're not going to want to wash that forehead.
forever.
Well, the big news is that NASCAR has gone French.
I am coming for you, Ricky Bobby.
He's in the wall.
Uh-oh. Yep, I'm flying through the air. This is not good.
I'm on fire! I'm on fire!
You're not on fire, Ricky Bobby!
Help me, Jesus! Help me, Jewish God! Help me, Tom Cruise! Tom Cruise, use your witchcraft to get the fire on me!
From the guys who brought you Anchorman and the 40-year-old virgin.
The doctor told us you can walk.
It's all in your head.
I am so paralyzed! You want to see what my life is?
Don't you stick that knife in your leg.
Oh, man!
Will Ferrell,
Ricky Bobby is not a thinker.
Give me a fastball, twisted lime.
What the hell's a fastball?
Oh!
Give me another.
Ricky Bobby is a driver.
Yeah, it's the real deal down there.
Ricky Bobby wins it in reverse!
What does that do? Did that blow your mind?
That just happened.
You don't drive with your eyes. You gotta feel the road.
the story of a man who could only count to number one.
I'm embarrassed. I really thought I could feel it.
Talladega Nights, the Ballad of Ricky Bobby.
You gotta learn to drive with the fear.
Oh, my God!
There ain't nothing more frightening than driving with a live cougar. Ricky, control your heart rate.
I can't control my heart rate. I got a cougar on me.
As always, I'm your host, Korbin's Vocal, and joining me is my co-host. He's all hopped up on Mountain Dew. It's Kody Webb. Kody, what's going on?
I'm gonna come at you like a spider monkey. You kind of stepped on. I was gonna do a Ricky Bobby quote, but I'm down for some Walker and Texas Ranger quotes as well. So I'm excited to be here, man. I think it should be a fun episode. How you doing today, Corbo?
I'm doing great. Glad that we could finally get this in the schedule, get a chance to sit down. It's been a minute, as we seem to always say when we do these podcasts, but that's adult life, man.
Yeah, it sucks, man. Adult schedules? Who likes those? Like, come on, not very fun.
And as we enter the holiday season, I'm sure things will just become increasingly more hectic. So if you want to stay up to date with the new episodes we're releasing, follow us on Spotify. You'll get a notification on the app when any new episodes get posted, as well as you can subscribe to our YouTube channel at Kody and Korbin Have a Podcast, and follow us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok at KHAP Podcast, KHAPODCAST. And yeah, we'll always be letting you know when the new episodes are coming out. You won't want to miss anything.
True. Should be a lot of fun stuff coming out as well. So definitely stay tuned. Yeah, follow us on everything else, and you'll definitely be updated, obviously.
Let's talk about why.
Why me? Why did you pick me?
You picked this movie. Kody, it's your choice. You did your classic either or with me this time. And it was really down between The Godfather and this movie, which of course have many similarities in the ways that they're truly about the struggle of men and their families. But what was it that called Talladega Nights out to you at this particular moment?
Yeah, I love that comparison between Talladega Nights and The Godfather. They are pretty similar. But yeah, obviously we're just coming off October here. We're entering the new month and having some, different podcast themes, I would say. And with those two options, I mean, I guess it's kind of similar and it's kind of just going away from the horror genre.
You wanted something more lighthearted in the face of a month of terror. You were ready to laugh.
So if you were terrorized all month and you want to just calm down a little bit, I figured we haven't done a comedy for a while. I think overall we've obviously done Grown Ups, which is a classic episode. And then I think in between, obviously we did The Wrong Missy with a great guest. Shout out Emmy McLaughlin. But I don't think we've done anything. I mean, obviously everything we do has a little bit of comedy throughout.
Right. We have comedy adjacent, but in terms of pure, especially like 2000s or earlier studio comedy, we haven't really delved too deep into it. And we definitely not the Will Ferrell world.
Yeah, true. We did do We're the Millers, so I forgot about that one. But that was kind of our take on like the last.
And that was the late stage. Yeah, the end of the studio comedy. And this is like prime time.
The end of the great comedies. So now we're going straight into kind of, like you said, the prime time of these great comedies. So I just want a different kind of configuration of the pod overall, and I figure it's gonna be a fun episode. Yeah.
In getting into Do You Remember? Do you remember? I can't say I remember the first time I watched this movie, but I think you'll recall a couple months back I mentioned rewatching it because Christopher Nolan had shouted it out as one of his like most rewatchable movies of all time. So if it's good enough for Christopher Nolan, you know on this podcast it's good enough for Kody and I. So another great reason to pick it today.
Very true. I mean, if Nolan says it's good, it must be. Like, that guy makes everything great. So I'm on board. Like you're saying, I mean, this movie, when was it released? Like
2006. So yeah, we've said this many times. Neither of us would have seen it when it released. I'll say this about this one. It's interesting because I was not aware of it when it came out. Being a 6-year-old, I don't think Talladega Nights like hit me. However, when Step Brothers gets released 2 years later, I do have like distinct memories of my brother and sister seeing that and like me being old enough to like comprehend that cultural moment. And it obviously continued for a few years on. I think Talladega Nights, we both just kind of completely missed, and Anchorman even more so. So this is something I came to much later, probably in high school. I can't say for sure the first time I watched it, but we were definitely both late, I would say.
I'm on the exact same boat. I can't give like a super exact date of the first time I watched this film. I figured I just caught like bits and pieces of it probably on TV throughout the years on the old cable stations. But like you said, I mean, just from a cultural standpoint, I feel like this movie and like you said, some of Adam McKay's similar stuff around the era as well were just something that was in like the cultural zeitgeist. So even if you don't like directly watch the movie, you probably had heard quotes just from like being at school on a daily basis, which I think is the beauty of it in a sense too, because when you do end up going around and watching the movie, I think it makes it even more funnier.
I will say I did see this movie before Step Brothers or before Anchorman. This was like the first Will Ferrell raunchy comedy I ever got a chance to fully check out and experience.
I like that a lot. I think mine was probably Step Brothers first. I feel like that's the most like PG of those.
I don't think I watched Step Brothers till I was in college. I'm gonna be honest. I think I was freshman year of college.
Step Brothers would be a great episode as well, by the way. But yeah, like you said, I mean, this is prime Will Ferrell. This is prime Adam McKay. This is prime like blockbuster comedy. And the thing with me that for some reason I always come back to it is, this could be way off base, but every time like I think about the movie Cars, I also adjacently think about this movie just because I feel like they play off each other so well. Give me a spin-off. I know we don't do pitch time anymore, but give me a Cars Talladega Nights sequel spin-off. That may be the greatest thing ever created.
Well, and of course, notably, both released in the year 2006. So I think in your little kid mind, it makes a lot of sense.
Those dang car movies in 2006. I don't like the kids one. I think this one's a little bit better.
Talk about Hollywood trends. Let's get into our initial thoughts.
Good morning, Vietnam!
My like general take, and it's not necessarily like so shocking, but it's like this is a really good sketch, like a good SNL sketch setup.
Yeah.
But it's as a full movie just doesn't necessarily work. I think it's really funny in parts. There's some lines that I think are the funniest of the 2000s. It's my favorite Will Ferrell movie in terms of comedy. But like story-wise, it just hits a snag about halfway through and doesn't really know where to go, doesn't know how to finish. It's dueling like the father issues with the Sacha Baron Cohen like villain story, and overall just doesn't stick the landing. And it is so much better is just like, give me 3 minutes of a sketch of John C. Reilly and Will Ferrell going back and forth.
I completely agree. I think we're on the same page there. The second half of this film is utterly pointless, I would say. We really don't need to see it. I don't know if I enjoy watching it. Like you said, I feel like from a cultural standpoint, this is something that is accepted as a super rewatchable movie. I agree with that, but only within like the first hour to 45 minutes. Because after that,
well, I think that's if you're with people, it's like you watch the beginning, you're kind of into it, and then you can just like talk over the second half when it doesn't matter, and then you watch the end.
The pacing 100% is one of my biggest issues overall too. So we're definitely on the same page there. Some of my other initial thoughts. I wanted to shoot it directly to the opening. When I've watched this movie before, I don't know if I've ever even kind of gone into like thinking about the opening title card that they show. And I'll read it down here because I did write it down, but it says America is all about speed. Hot, nasty, badass speed. And it's a quote from Eleanor Roosevelt. I just wanted to ask you, how do you feel about that quote? Do you think that fits like the overall sense of the movie?
Well, it's not a real quote, Cody. And so like that's like it fits into this general, like I'm gonna get into it, I guess, in the good probably, but like this movie is really about like America and Southern America and the Bush presidency and the Bush family. And like when you take this idea of American like revisionist history, or you would take someone as prominent of a figure and as powerful as a figure as Eleanor Roosevelt, First Lady of the United States, to one of the better presidents we've had in the course of our history, and at a very pivotal time in our history in the 30s and like Depression to World War II. And then you're taking this like raunchy, dumbass like quote about NASCAR and you're attributing like it's like fucking bumper sticker quote like that. Like that's probably more than anything they saw this on like the back of a truck. I don't know exactly where they got the idea, but like it's very American, and I think it fits the parody nature of the story.
Yeah, obviously, I mean, goes without saying this is a very high satirical film here, and yeah, I think they're making fun of NASCAR culture, obviously, you know, ultimately here, but that blends over into the Southern culture entirely. I love this quote. I'm just talking about because it brings together two fun concepts. Like obviously, the quote is about speed, which you know that's a Lightning McQueen quote as well, I guess. But of course, like racing NASCAR.
You're not first
like,
class. I mean, it's the thesis statement of the movie.
Exactly. And then you throw in some weird off-ball like Eleanor Roosevelt reference, and then combining that with like it's doing a double meaning of the word speed. I think it's talking about drugs mostly here. So I think that's really funny. But I just feel like that's a really out-of-pocket thing to start off with and kind of just catches the audience off guard maybe a little bit. And then you go straight into like this racing movie. Obviously, most of the opening is just like the origin story of Ricky Bobby, which I'll go into later. I don't love all that stuff. Kind of rolling back to roll credits altogether here too. I want to talk about the title a little bit, just because the subtitle specifically, "The Ballad of Ricky Bobby," I think is powerful. I don't think we have great subtitles in movies in general today. We did just have a recent release. I mean, it's the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Is that right?
That is correct. Yes, Hunger Games: The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes.
Yeah.
Which
so shout out the Hunger Games writers, because at least they're bringing cool subtitles back. But I like the use of the word ballad in both those as well. Again, I feel like something we don't see a ton of, and obviously just kind of brings up the satirical nature, and it's obviously like a melodrama is the majority of the story. So I kind of like the use of ballad in the subtitle there.
Yeah, I like that. And hey, there's a chance we might be doing that ballad movie soon on the podcast as well. There's been a request. So.
Back-to-back ballad movies?
Who knows? Cody, something I wanted to mention that is kind of crazy in the context of now, but this movie had a $72 million budget. And obviously, like, you can see it, like, they shot this in real NASCAR tracks. They did it before events. Like, they needed the money, but a movie like this probably wouldn't get $70 million today. And if it did, everyone would be like, oh my God, $70 million, and it's not going to make enough. Of course, this movie opened to 47 million its opening weekend, which is the largest of Will Ferrell's career, and then went on to gross 163 total, clearly, doubling that 72 million. So it did well enough, but just like very much, again, a product of its time that we wouldn't see anymore.
It is sad, honestly, that we won't be getting, high budget comedies like this, going forward, it seems like, at least. But like you're saying, it's kind of the prime time of this, and I think it makes sense giving that kind of money to somebody like Adam McKay at the time. But obviously, he's proven himself a lot more as the years have gone along here. But I like that idea a lot, of like finding a good young director in a specific subgenre and kind of just letting them maybe create like a passion project in a sense. Sometimes it does backfire, obviously, but I wish we got more high priced comedies today. I think that would be a lot more fun.
Let's talk about Adam McKay and move on to IMDb Known For.
Do I know you? I mean, where do I know you from?
So we'll start with McKay. His 4, The Other Guys, Don't Look Up, Vice, and The Big Short. What do you think about this big 4? Do you think it properly represents who he is as a filmmaker? Probably one of the few people on this show that have you seen like everything he's directed?
Ooh, I think so. I think I have, yeah.
And I think I can say the same as well at this point.
Pretty uncommon, I feel like, for this segment. So I guess props to us. And props to Adam McKay. But yeah, this 4 is interesting. I want to hear your thoughts, obviously, but this is definitely not the 4 that popped directly into my mind when I think of Adam McKay. I think they did go more of the serious McKay, which I love the serious McKay, but I think they're leaving out a couple of my favorites for sure.
Obviously, his career has 2 sides, and it's not really, because we'll talk about it with this one. This is a very political movie, but like his early comedies, which were heavily satires, mostly people just saw them for the comedy side. And then he went on to make movies that were like more about the satirization and had a more distinct message, whether it be The Big Short or Vice or Don't Look Up. And I think you got to go 2. I think you got to represent the early career with 2, and you got to represent the late stage career with 2. It's tough because we've talked about it many times. You want to see the Oscar-nominated movies get on here. And well, he was nominated for Don't Look and The Big Short and Vice. So it's like, do you leave one of those off? Of those 3, what do you think? I think you take Vice off, even though to me, I don't love Don't Look Up. I just think it had a bigger life than Vice. I don't know. Neither of them. The Big Short has to be on.
Oh, I think The Big Short is a no doubter. And that's a good point. I didn't think about the Oscar bait. IMDb probably will lean towards movies that are more academy, accepted and stuff like that. So that makes sense. Out of Vice and Don't Look Up, I would honestly probably cut Don't Look Up. I like Vice a lot. I think obviously both have like great casts and really good writing, but I think just from a historical context standpoint, Vice is a little bit more interesting because it's based on a true story and there's a lot of terrible stuff going on. So I think maybe that's a little bit more interesting for myself, but I agree. Obviously, in here too, we do have The Other Guys, which I love that because I think that's one of his more underrated comedies. But I mean,
in the transition movie, I think.
I mean, it leans more into like the cop, like a buddy cop movie than like a pure comedy like Talladega Nights. But I am surprised that Grown Ups and Talladega Nights, at least one of those, is not on the list. So I would probably add, I would probably slash The Other Guys too. Just put those 2 movies in, slash Don't Look Up as well. But it's tough. I mean, it's a lot of good movies here, so it's hard to choose.
Yeah, I mean, I think you could probably take any of them, Anchorman, Talladega, Step Bros. I think I go Talladega has to be there. Like I said, it was Will Ferrell's biggest opening. It probably was Adam McKay's at the time biggest opening. Maybe some of these later movies have surpassed. But I don't feel like this is a very good list that really represents who he is as a total filmmaker and total person. It is weird because it's like, they like list the producer credits for these movies and instead of him being the director, which he did do both, but it's funny what IMDb puts forth. He has produced a lot of interesting projects. Obviously Succession is one that we're a huge fan of, even though his role in that was more so he set the style in the first episode as a director, helped bring in a lot of the creatives. Really, Jesse Armstrong, the showrunner, had a lot of control, and especially in the second and third seasons was the main guy. But Winning Time, movies like Fresh that appeared on Hulu last year, like he's had a big Booksmart, a movie you love and we've done on the podcast before, another comedy. His producerial career has been pretty strong as well.
I think it is funny that like IMDb lists all that stuff as like not the director first. I think that's interesting. But yeah, he's a pretty, I feel like, well-respected guy in Hollywood right now. So anything like he has attached to him in a sense, I think will maybe get a liting bit more budget. The same thing with Succession, which
do you think? I think Adam McKay might be at his lowest point. That's my take.
I think his relationship with Will Ferrell is at his lowest point.
I mean, Winning Time, that just got canceled.
Yeah.
I know he's not like
he's not really
Winning Time. The reason I don't know what. Don't Look Up. Yes, it was Oscar. I guess it's hard to say again. His last film was Oscar nominated, but to me, it was made for Netflix, and it was a disappointment.
I like that movie. But
he's not as culturally relevant. I mean, we're going to talk about, he's maybe one of the most, in terms of popular American filmmakers that people don't know his name, but like now he's even less so culturally relevant. I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, it's a good point. For the movies he's made, I guarantee like 90% of America has no idea who Adam McKay is, but they all 100% know all of his movies.
Who's in a better place, Todd Phillips or Adam McKay?
Is Todd Phillips doing Joker 2 or is he not? It's
releasing next year. One of 5 comic book movies releasing in 2025. Cody, do you know the other 4?
Well, there's only one Marvel. What is it? I don't know. I do know it, but I don't know. Okay.
There's one Marvel movie and 3 Sonyverse movies on the slate.
Oh, well, not the Madam Web that's coming out this year. Kraven the Hunter, that's got to be on the docket, right?
Madam Web is next year.
Is it next year?
Yeah. Kraven the Hunter was supposed to have already come out, but it got strike pushed.
Okay, what other Sonyverse movies are there? Well, the third Spider-Verse movie, supposedly, right? Does that count?
Yeah, I don't think that's going to come out, to be honest. But
what's the Marvel movie? I know
Venom 3 is also allegedly coming out next year.
I would have not gotten that. What's the Marvel movie?
Deadpool 3.
Oh, yeah, because they just started shooting again. I am excited for that too. So I'm happy. We need less comic book movies at this point on a yearly basis. That's coming from a comic book fan, a comic book movie fan, I guess is the way to say it. But I'm excited for Deadpool 3. How can you not? That's gonna be awesome. Yeah.
Very well, maybe a big resetting in the MCU world. We'll see what happens.
They do it every movie, so whatever. Sure.
Let's move on to Ferrell. Also a frequent collaborator, McKay. So obviously there's gonna be a little bit of overlap here. Talladega Nights, the Ballad of Ricky Bobby. I almost said the Ballad of Songbird and Snakes. Just do a crossover movie doing both. Anchorman 2, The Legend of Continues is what that one is. Anchorman 1, The Legend of Ron Burgundy, and Blades of Glory. Real interesting 4 here. I'll say right off rip, I don't think Blades of Glory, despite being featured in a Kanye West Jay-Z song that I will not say the title of.
We're gonna skate to one song only.
Despite that, I don't think it has as big of an impact otherwise. Should it be on the 4 just because guys were in Paris?
I don't even know what that means.
No one knows what it means, but it's provocative.
No, it's not. It
gets the people going.
That's a good argument. I can't really argue against that, but I would say personally, I would leave it off my top 4 list here. Pretty much no doubt about that. Do you like Blades of Glory in general? I'm not even a big fan of the movie, if I'm being honest.
I can't say I revisited it in the last few years. I would say I imagine it doesn't hold up terribly well. Again, we've a Napoleon Dynamite, another comedy we've done, Cody. Shout out our
we've
boy
done a lot of comedies
and Benchwarmers too. But we're big fans of his.
True. But I think other than that, this is an okay list. Obviously,
it's weird having both Anchormans.
Yeah, I think it's kind of the Kill Bill thing we were talking about before, where if you're gonna have like both of them on, especially in this is a different situation, I guess, where it's like the OG and then like the legacy sequel. Like for Tom Cruise, are we gonna have Top Gun and Top Gun Maverick? I think you just pick your favorite and go with it in a sense. I think there are a lot of underrated gems with Will Ferrell as well. So I think like they have so much room to expand this list. You could go, obviously, Step Brothers isn't on here. I mean, I can name off every comedy he's done. A really underrated one. Shout out Megamind. I think Megamind should be on this list. Did you have any other ones that you'd want to put on here instead?
Listen, I'm partial to a little early Stranger Than Fiction. I think that might be his best performance. But Kody, another comedy kind of movie we've done that stars Will Ferrell, Elf, should be on this list, 100%. Elf
How is it
is
not?
the movie, like the Will Ferrell.
I think
that expands the most ages, that is, in terms of recognizing.
100%. And I bet on a yearly basis, that's by far his most watched movie. I mean, come Christmas time, I think it's like, honestly, I think that's most people's top Christmas movie that like is on their annual watch list. So I was pretty surprised to not see that as well. Yeah.
What do you think about his career right now? Last couple movies. He was obviously the Mattel CEO in Barbie. I don't know.
Yeah.
You didn't see Strays, right?
I did
Kind of
not.
a flop, SAG strike. Otherwise,
It looked okay. I'll probably catch it on VOD eventually, but I mean, he's definitely, I think, winding down on his overall career. I mean, obviously, like young Will Ferrell on SNL, like is his prime, and that was like the '90s in a sense. So 30 years later, he's getting a little bit older. I like that he's going more behind the camera, kind of doing a lot of producer stuff, more supporting roles, like in Barbie. Maybe he wasn't really necessary in that movie, but I still enjoyed him personally. I just hope he keeps working for a few more years, and especially in comedy movies like this, just give him weird supporting roles, and I think that's his niche, kind of like Zoolander 2 in a sense too. Like just give him 15 minutes of screen time, and he'll be good.
yeah, and I mean it's the thing that we've like this whole podcast is also about. Like comedies aren't really like they used to be, so like his career has had to change and evolve. I mean, let's get him behind the camera. Let's get him directing. Let's see it, or just playing more baseball. I liked when he played all 9 positions in a spring training one day. That was fun too. Either or, that can be his next move.
True. A lot of sports ties. That's the thing that I feel like is even a bummer more with Winning Time, that he's not involved with that series, because I think he just would have had a lot of fun in general with that. But yeah, give me more Will Ferrell in live sports too. That's an easy yes.
What's the basketball one? What's the Jackie Moon? What's it called? What's that movie?
Semi-pro.
Put that in this one. Come on.
I'm down. Woody Harrelson's pretty bad in that movie, but
yeah.
Shout out the alley-oop.
Not his best. True, he did admit it. Moving over to John C. Reilly, who has a really interesting 4. Obviously known probably most notably as like the sidekick to Will Ferrell, but he's had a extensive career otherwise, and this 4 will represent that. Chicago, Guardians of the Galaxy, Boogie Nights, and Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox Story.
Very, very interesting list, I would say. For me, I don't hate it. I think it definitely focuses in on a lot of his supporting roles, which, I mean, I feel like historically he is a very supporting actor in a sense. I think the obvious one on here that you have to include is Walk Hard. I think maybe that's his best performance, honestly, and obviously he's in the starring role in I think a decent movie, so that's got to be on here. Boogie Nights, I actually love the inclusion of, even though, like I said, it is a smaller role. I think that's a really underrated movie, and he's got a fun part in it. I haven't seen Chicago, so I'll skip over that. But obviously, we've done Guardians of the Galaxy on this podcast. That's proclaimed by myself as one of my favorite movies. But I don't love the inclusion of that in his top 4.
That's just like it's really popular, not that he's known for it. He's list
in
is
the
tough.
MCU, so I guess I gotta go in his top 4. I would definitely take Guardians out here. Yeah.
The cool thing is that this list is showing us that he can act, that like he actually is a good actor, and like he's been in a PTA movie, he's been in a Best Picture winner, Chicago, like, and I feel like especially when you get to like the post Chicago, the 2000s, when he's doing stuff with Will Ferrell, a lot of people are like, oh, he's just the dumb comedy guy, and then he's begun to flourish again late 2010 and 2010s and done other stuff. But I think you still have to have one of those comedies. I don't know, Walk Hard is like a parody, like it's not necessarily a straight drama, right? But like you've got to have one of the Will Ferrells in there, and whether it's I think it's this movie probably because he's like, I don't know, don't you think?
I would agree. I mean, I think this movie would be perfect because he is the lead. He's the co-lead in a sense. He's not the lead, obviously. He's in the movie a lot. So
he
I think
came up with Shake and Bake. It's his thing.
How can you argue against that? Yeah, I mean, comedy is his roots, I think, 100%. So I think including, again, just doing like the little split 2-2, I think would have been good. Again, just eliminate Guardians and throw any Will Ferrell collaboration in here, I think would be awesome. Again, he's really good in like these really small supporting roles though too. So shout out a couple of those that I really like. The Lobster, which I think he's really fun in, even though he has limited screen time. And then one of your favorites too, Kong Skull Island. He's kind of just a crazy guy, and I think a fun role. But I would have liked seen a little bit of disparity here, instead of a boring Guardians pick.
He is a guy that if he pops up for a movie for 5 minutes, I'm so happy to see him because he's always just gonna like throw a fastball, give you some heat. He was in this movie Stars at Dune, which is Claire Denis, international film, had Margaret Qualley and former before Travis Kelce, former boyfriend of Taylor Swift, Joe Alwyn is the two leads, and he literally just hops on a Zoom call 5 minutes of the movie where he's playing unnamed magazine editor, and he just eats it up, and he's so fun. He's in Licorice Pizza. He's in, obviously, like you said, The Lobster. He's in the Little Dicky Pillow Talking where he voices God. And that's better than the Little Dicky Earth music video where he got all the celebrities that I've talked about with Leo. He's always just doing fun stuff. There's no too small of a role. There's too big of a role. I really like John C. Reilly. And it's a cool 4. I think we swap out Guardians for Talladega, and it's a lot better.
I'm on board. Yeah, I agree too. John C. Reilly, he's humble. He has no ego, which is almost non-existent in Hollywood. So shout out to him.
Let's move on to the good, the bad, and the ugly. Kody, why don't you get us started, man?
Yeah, okay, stop. And I mean, we already mentioned this a little bit, initial thoughts, but my favorite part of the movie is the first half hour, 45 minutes-ish. So I'll focus on a few specific scenes from that part of the movie off the bat here. For me, my favorite part of this movie is kind of the satirical ad stuff. Obviously, like they're doing like the interviews, and in NASCAR, in any sports really, of course, you're gonna have athletes, saying they support a product. But just like the way that they play with that here, they of course have like a tampon ad off the top. They got Lucky Charms getting shout outs. The big red gum. If you don't shoot big red gum, fuck you. I think that's one of the best lines from the movie. And then Applebee's just has like its entire own segment in a sense, where this is more the second part of the movie, I guess, but they all go to Applebee's and it's kind of like a little ad. And then at the end, or actually, I think it's during the crash scene, near the middle of the movie, when Ricky Bobby's car is flipping over like 100 times, they cut to commercial and just show like an Applebee's ad, which I think is really funny. And again, it's really kind of just poking fun at the overall NASCAR culture. But the way they do it, I think they couldn't really have done it any better. So that's my first massive positive here.
Yeah, and I mean, it's very much, it's right in, again, McKay's wheelhouse, like the capitalism, the corporatism. NASCAR is a very insane sport where your car is covered in advertisements, so it fits the world super well. I think even like the bloopers over the credits is them doing an ad, right? When they're sitting down at dinner, they're like, we've got our feast at Taco Bell and KFC. They're in the prayer, they're shouting out Powerade because he's legally, required to. And so it's playing off that so well, and it's doing parody so well. And as I've said many times, like it kind of is hard to do parody now, but like parody of George Bush in prime time, like goofy Southern, fool me once, fool me twice, like it's hilarious and it works. And I think it was successful then in a way that it can't really be now. So I appreciate this movie. It's less subtle, but more subtle in the way he's doing it almost. He's not punching you right in the face in it, but he's still telling you that it's in the Geneva Convention and you should look it up, right? Like it's clear enough for the people that want to understand it.
Yeah, I agree. And it's interesting, like looking at like this comedy compared to his new stuff. Like you said, like it's saying the same thing.
The thing is, like, this movie's about George Bush. He made another one called Vice, literally about the fucking, like, he's done it. Like, you can compare those two. He makes this movie and then he makes one about Dick Cheney, and the ways he goes about it just 10 years later are so starkly different.
The style differences, I think, is cool to look back on. Going along with that too, I mean, same stuff. Everything with the interviews where he's like, I don't know what to do with my hands. It's really good. And then, of course, the classic interview. This was the quote I was going to start off with. Well, hey, Dick, real simple. I'm the best there ever was. I wake up every morning and I piss excellence. Yeah, I think that's one of the greatest quotes of all time. And then we gotta jump over to that dinner scene as well right away.
My favorite scene of the movie.
Yeah, it's got to be. I was gonna say one of my favorite comedy scenes of all time. I think, of course, like you said, more product placement, all the fast food. I think is funny and definitely fits. And then Walker and Texas Ranger. His kids are awesome. Shut up, Chip. Maybe one of the best quotes of all time. I think just the confrontation there of the kids doing whatever they want, and Will Ferrell just being laser focused in on talking about little baby Jesus while like the kids are fighting the entire time.
And his wife is so pissed off about it that it's baby Jesus, and the grandpa's mad at the kid. It's just...
Dear Lord baby Jesus, we also thank you for my wife's father, Chip. We hope that you can use your baby Jesus powers to heal him and his horrible leg. And it smells terrible, and the dogs are always bothering with it. Dear tiny infant Jesus.
Hey, you know, sweetie, Jesus did grow up. You don't always have to call him baby. It's a bit odd and off-putting to pray to a baby.
Well, look, I like the Christmas Jesus best, and I'm saying grace. When you say grace, you can say it to grown-up Jesus or teenage Jesus or bearded Jesus or whoever you want.
You know what I want? I want you to do this grace good so that God will let us win tomorrow.
Dear tiny Jesus, your golden fleece diapers with your tiny little fat balled-up fist pawing.
He was a man. He had a beard.
Look, I like the baby version the best. Do you hear me? I win the races and I get the money.
Ricky, finish the damn grace.
I like to picture Jesus in a tuxedo T-shirt because it says, like, I want to be formal, but I'm here to party, too. Because I like to party, so I like my Jesus to party.
I like to picture Jesus as a ninja fighting off evil samurai.
I like to think of Jesus, like, with giant eagle's wings and singing lead vocals for Leonard Skinner with, like, an angel band. And I'm in the front row, and I'm hammered drunk.
Hey, Cal, why don't you just shut up?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Dear 8-pound, 6-ounce, newborn infant Jesus. Don't even know a word yet. Just a little infant and so cuddly, but still omnipotent. We just thank you for all the races I've won and the $21.2 million. Woo!
Woo!
Woo! Ow!
Love that money that I have accrued over this past season. Also due to a binding endorsement contract that stipulates I mention Powerade at each grace. I just want to say that Powerade is delicious and it cools you off on a hot summer day. And we look forward to Powerade's release of Mystic Mountain Blueberry. Thank you for all your power and your grace, dear baby God. Amen.
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 Let's dig in.
That was a hell of a grace, man. You nailed that like a split hole.
I appreciate that. I'm not gonna lie to you, it felt good.
Dad, you made that grace your bitch.
It's an extremely well put together scene. It flows so nicely. It's not that thing where it's like, you know, a lot of this was improv, but it doesn't feel, it feels written, and it feels they interact so well together. And it sucks that the other scenes later in the movie are dragged so much when something like this has just like nonstop energy and laughs.
100%. Like I said too, I bet a lot of it wasn't unscripted, but the writing just feels immaculate. Like I feel like you can't change anything in this scene. It's almost perfect in that moment. Even like the kids one-off lines, like I said, I thought like the spider monkey line or anything where they're yelling at Chip, I think probably was a little bit off the top. But the editing and then, like you said, just the chemistry between everybody just makes it absolutely perfect.
I can't hold my tongue. These kids are my grandchildren, and you are raising them wrong. They are terrible boys.
Shut up, Chip, or I'll go ape shit on your ass. I'm gonna scissor kick you in the back of the head.
Yeah, turn up the heat.
Go on and get some, boys.
Come on.
I'm 10 years old, but I'll beat your ass. Chip, I'm gonna come at you like a spider monkey.
Like a spider monkey. Go on.
Chip, you brought this on, man.
Greatest generation, my ass. Tom Brokaw is a punk.
What is wrong with you?
Chip, I'm all jacked up on Mountain Dew.
I love that.
You gonna let your sons talk to their grandfather like that? I'm their elder.
I sure as hell am, Chip. I love the way they're talking to you. Because they're winners. Winners get to do what they want.
A couple other like scene quote things I wanted to shout out. When he crashes, like, first of all all the racing and all the crashes like actually look pretty good. They did a good job of actually filming this stuff practically. And that crash is real. Like they crashed a car. But then when he gets out of it and thinks he's on fire and is just running around and screaming that he's on fire, rolling like that's hilarious. Great acting from Will Ferrell. John C. Reilly comes out there, tries to save him, doesn't help. And then when he, of course, is running around, help me, Jesus, help me, Jewish guy, help me, Allah, help me, Tom Cruise, use your witchcraft on me. Great stuff from him. And then he ends up in the hospital, and he's obviously claiming that he can no longer walk, which is, whatever, it's kind of a dumb joke. But then he stabs himself in the leg to prove that he's paralyzed. And then, of course, the great line, use the knife to pry it out, using the other knife to pry the first knife out. Real brilliant stuff, but a lot of funny moments. I think that might be my last really big laugh of the movie, and then it takes a big dive off the cliff.
I agree. That was the next thing I want to talk about, was first off the ridiculous crash where it goes on for like 10 minutes. I like that a lot. And then, like you said too, I think Michael Clarke Duncan is underrated comedically. I think historically for his career, obviously RIP as well to him, but I don't think he had a ton of comedic stuff. So him in like a role like this as obviously like the crew chief guy, I think it's perfect. And that hospital scene, I think is his best one throughout the film. I agree with you too. Like everything on the racetrack is great, but once we leave that, I think that's where it slows down a ton with that pacing. We get to like a bunch more backstory with his dad, which I'll go into later. But I think that specific cutoff point of like the knife joke after that is mostly a wash for me. Like we were saying, that 40-minute or 45-minute mark, wherever it's at, I think is almost peak comedy. But I think you could scrap the rest of the movie and I would be completely fine. But yeah, I agree. Like the racing is pretty realistic in a sense. All the ad stuff surrounding around that, everything with the interviews, him running around just in his whitey tighties, and then John C. Reilly coming and tackling him. It's all amazing. And everything with the pit crew too. You got Todd Packer in there. You got Jack McBrayer. A fun group overall. So yeah, I'm a big fan of everything NASCAR related, I guess, in this movie, which kind of feels weird to say, but yeah.
We haven't really talked about him yet. And he's going to get mentioned in another category, but Sacha Baron Cohen. The role, we'll talk about it in The Ugly.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if anybody, despite everything, like I don't know if anybody else could do that and still make me want to watch it. Like Sacha Baron Cohen is the only person that can quite pull that off. He disappears into all of his various characters in some way or another. And this is just another one for the ages for Sacha doing an accent.
I think his acting merit, you really can't question, but the roles that he chooses, I do question a lot. Like you said, he's good in this. There's a lot of problematic stuff that we'll get into. But I think from a comedy standpoint, he was the best guy that they could have gotten probably, just because he makes it funny, where a lot of other people, it would probably just be extremely offensive, which it already is, but at least he makes it a little bit funny.
Yeah, because like Sacha Baron Cohen is so committed to everything he does. Like he's not, there's nothing like disingenuous about it or really even hateful in what he's doing. And the movie is not trying to be hateful. We'll talk about like why it doesn't quite hold up in a certain way, but I think he really works in a weird way.
I agree. I will recast him later. Spoiler alert.
Me too.
I think he's good. He's definitely good.
I'm going to change the role a little bit, just in general. Do you have any more good?
That was pretty much it. Yeah.
Okay, me as well. Let's move over to the bad. You kind of mentioned like was it the 25 to 40 mark you were identifying?
Yeah, it's hard to gauge exactly where it's at.
I wrote down the movie cooks from minute 9, which is when the first race happens. So get rid of all the shit before that.
Yeah.
First race, minute 9, he hops in the car. Also, fucking so stupid that's how he got into the race. Yeah. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Pretty dumb. I feel like they could have come up with something a little bit better than that.
The driver just like quits.
Yeah, he's just getting a hot dog or whatever at the concession stand.
And they're like, oh, Will Ferrell, it's your time to shine. I don't think that.
Yeah, pretty dumb.
Pretty dumb. But he gets in the car, minute 9, first race to minute 47, which is when he arrives at the house and he realized that his wife has been stolen by John C. Reilly. And then it's over. Everything after that, you could just end the movie there. Like, I don't even care. Oh, sorry, Ricky Bobby, your life sucks. Like, movie's over. I had a good, 38 minutes of laughs.
There you go. Hey, that 40 minutes, man. The perfect 40 minutes. There's got to be some sort of cut somewhere where it's just that. But yeah, I agree. Everything else is kind of just filler at that point. Another person we've not talked about yet, who's in this movie inexplicably. One of my favorite actresses working today, Miss Amy Adams, is in a very interesting role. Pretty much a nobody role here. I mean, she doesn't even really show up until, well, she's in it, but she doesn't actually do anything until
She gets
like
her
halfway
face
through.
signed pretty early on. That's like the first time you see
Yes.
her, and then she's like just disappears.
I guess that's kind of funny. It's obviously just like playing on the trope of like, you
He
know,
signs
this
some
hot girl.
boobs. He signs a baby. He signs his assistant.
Yeah, the assistant, and then oh, she takes off her glasses and she's really hot or whatever.
Right,
So I think that's dumb. And they're just completely misusing Amy Adams here, which I feel like she would have been really good in the main female role here, just Ricky Bobby's wife, who is played by what's her name? Something she's in a lot of TV stuff that I know, but it's not Katherine Heigl. I can never remember her name. It's
why did I close the fucking Talladega?
it's on the tip of my damn tongue too. She's in the League. Shout out that show. But she's good. I don't
Leslie
think she's
Bob.
bad. But
Leslie Bibb.
Leslie Bibb, yeah. Leslie Bob. Shout out Leslie Bob. Leslie Bibb's good. I think she in itself is a pretty underrated actress. Like I said, she's in a lot of little stuff that I like. But I feel like putting Amy Adams in that specific role would have been using her 10 times better. Just because even like we get to the end and that's supposedly the payoff for this character, but she's just like, oh, do it for yourself. Why doesn't he do it for her? Like, why is she even here in a sense? So it sucks that Amy Adams was wasted. I'm definitely going to recast her as well, but that's kind of my big thing that I really dislike is just like give Amy Adams more to do. Why would you not want to do that? I don't know.
Yeah, it's really interesting because obviously Amy Adams would go on again to collaborate with McKay many times and get more prominent roles in his movies. I think in general, jumping to the ugly here, just the treatment of women all around is pretty bad. I don't think Amy Adams really gets to speak outside of the like, oh, it's me, I'm here. Like, she does not get to have real dialogue until an hour and 10 minutes into this movie. And it's that bar scene. And then that's supposed to be her like big, like you said, she takes off her glasses, she lets down her hair. Oh my God, she's hot. Such a dumb old trope, the classic librarian thing. But just like, that's so bad, the way it handles his wife character. I think you're right. Just have Amy Adams be his wife the whole time. And even if she leaves him, like maybe he doesn't need a love. Like, I don't think you need this weird. And again, this movie is about like a sexist, misogynistic culture and weird things. So like the character, it makes sense for the characters, but Amy Adams, give her character something to do in the first 70 minutes of the film, and then I'll maybe excuse it a little bit. Like, it's just, you can't just be like, oh, she shows up and now I'm hot and like I'm okay with it. Like, have her at least be there a little bit more.
Yeah, I agree. And kind of sticking with half ugly, half bad here. Another female character.
Okay, yeah,
too was
and its wife,
the team leader's guy wife. Yeah, I think it's Molly Shannon who's in that role, right?
Yes, Mrs. Dennett is her name.
She's funny. Like, I like Molly Shannon again and a lot of other stuff, but like this role just sucks. Like, it's just like a drunken, horny
wife.
Yeah, like,
who's worse at writing wives? Is it Christopher Nolan or Adam McKay? Oh, we wonder why he likes this movie. Interesting.
That's why I rewatches it constantly. Yeah, tough. But I think she's wasted too. I mean, like you're saying, kind of every female role in here is kind of just the same thing, which again is kind of the point. But when you have like talented actresses like this from a comedic standpoint, I feel like wasting them to this degree is something we can't really look past.
You know what I think would fix this movie? Just replace the Jean Girard character, make it a female driver. Like, just have a badass like F1 female driver that like shows up and kicks ass, because then it's the same thing. Like, they can all be like, oh, it's a woman, and we're like, and like you still get the same point across of like the gay shit, but you actually give women something to do and you're making a better statement.
That is perfect, Loki. I think take any of those three ladies we just mentioned in this movie and give them the primary villain role. I'd love to see Molly Shannon do that. Honestly, that'd be so much fun. But
well, I've got someone, but I'll save it for the recast for you, Kody.
Love it. I'll jump into a couple other small things I had here. Oh, actually, I did have a question for you, because the whole nickname stuff is interesting. I think Shake and Bake is good. It's obviously a classic, but of course they break up and they come up with new sort of nicknames. I'm not a massive fan. I want to hear your thoughts though. We of course have the Magic Man, which is John C. Riley, and then El Diablo, which is Will Ferrell. Which one's your favorite? Do you like those? I'm not a massive fan, I don't think.
I'll be the Magic Man. You can be El Diablo. I'll claim that now. No, I mean, Shake and Bake. Nothing can live up to Shake and Bake, even if it doesn't make sense. Shake and Bake.
Doesn't make sense, but it works.
I think this is just kind of a bad sports movie in general. Like, I don't, like and I get it's like NASCAR, so it's like, oh, is it really even a sport? Yeah, sure it is. But it's just not a successful sports movie for that very reason of like, when you have the big fall and then you need the big training montage that normally is like, yes, this is the fucking moment in the movie. It just fucking sucks. And you've got Gary Cole, putting cougars in cars, and it's just like, it doesn't work as a sports movie. It's not funny at that point. It hits is completely unsuccessful. I think you could cut his dad out of the movie entirely, let it be a story about him kind of reconciling with his mom after a rough childhood, and then you like actually give something for Jane Lynch to do other than have the weird like, I'm going to teach Walker and Texas Ranger how to behave subplot, which, like I said, I like him, but I don't like that that's what they have to do in the second act. Like, it's stupid that just everything is dumb. Give me a better training montage. Give me a better sports movie. Get rid of his dad.
I agree. Shout out Rocky IV. But yeah, I mean, everything with his parents, in a sense, I think is a bit useless. Even though the cougar bit is kind of funny, but yeah, everything other than that is bad. And then bouncing off what you were saying with just like the overall sports movie, I agree with that completely too. I mean, the 1v1 race at the end, I feel like they're ripping off cars almost, like we were saying. Like, maybe these scripts, it was a similar thing with like The Prestige and The Illusionist. Like, it's overlapping scripts a little bit, which I don't love. And I think that's just a really dumb way to like end a movie like this too. Like, it's such a team sport, in a sense. And then you're just going to narrow it down between two guys just because that's what you want to do for the plot. I don't love it. Actually, make it realistic sport.
Foot race, it's dumb. And then, of course, I mean, whatever. John C. Riley gets to win in the end.
Sure. The song with that is good, though. We belong together. We belong together. I think that's a great song, but pretty dumb ending.
What do you got for the ugly, Kody?
I mean, there's a lot of stuff, obviously. This is a mid-2000s comedy, just want to say it off the bat. And they are poking fun and everything here, but I don't really love most of the homophobic stuff in here, especially that initial bar scene. I feel like that conversation I just wasn't interested in. I do like the snapping of an arm. I think that's pretty comedic, but everything is surrounding Conan O'Brien's co-host as well. Like, their relationship, yeah, like they just give him like some weird subplot where he's a German dog instructor or whatever. I don't know, like, if they actually focused on their relationship, I think maybe it would have been a little bit more interesting, but they don't really have anything to say other than, oh, of course they're going to kiss at the end. Like, I don't know. I feel like this is classic, like mid-2000s comedy where they don't really know what to say about some of the homophobia and stuff. And it's a massive part of like this NASCAR culture. So I think it makes sense with the overall themes, but the execution, I just don't like it all.
Yeah. And especially because it's like, not even it's just doing the like, oh, gay, homophobia angle. It's like French is gay. Like, laugh at them dumb Europeans. Like, that's what the big, and again, it fits into the extreme nationalism and patriotism of the sport, and it's just continuing and parodying that. But when the movie is doing it and the movie's making it its joke as well, I just think you're not trying very hard, and you're kind of just, it's ill-intended to me. And I wish that it would be different, because I feel like the movie would be so much better. Again, like, I don't think it's like, it's not like it's terribly hateful in the way it's doing. It's just, it could be a lot better.
Sometimes it does just get cringe in points too, especially near the end.
Yeah. You don't have the gay character as your foil because like you're trying to like say that like people can be gay. You're doing it because it's a joke and it's othering and more making the character more alien and making you want to dislike him more, right? And I'm on Sacha Baron Cohen's side. He's just sitting there drinking his macchiato, driving around. I think he deserved to win.
He did snap his arm for no reason there. I mean,
he told him. Fair warning.
He did tell him to do it, I guess.
Stay uncle.
Still tough. I mean, that music he was playing, I mean, that was pretty bad too. I'm not gonna lie. Not the best, but the Frenchies, man, they got their own culture. We don't understand it.
2 racers have cameos in this movie. I didn't really clock one of them, but I know Dale Earnhardt is the like very prominent one because I like kind of know what he looks like. Not a good actor, just a bad scene. He like rolls up and he's like, "Hey, Ricky Bobby," it's like it's just no. Get the man
Ricky,
off screen. Don't give him any lines.
Signature? I love you, Ricky. You're my favorite. Don't tell the other guys.
He can drive, but he can't act.
Who's the other cameo? I don't think I even know.
I don't know. It was in the.
I thought you had it.
I just know that there is another one. I didn't even care enough.
Oh, Jamie McMurray. I don't know who that is. It's like some mid 2000s guy who sucked. So shout out Jamie McMurray if you're listening. Come on the pod and tell us about it. But I have no idea who you are, bud.
Good luck to you though. Any other ugly?
No, I feel like we covered most of the sexist stuff I wanted to go over as well. So I'm good.
Commercial break, and we'll be right back.
Sound like you want to say something else.
No, I think that's it. And we'll be back. And we're back with Invite, Fight, Night.
Totally invite your personal friend, Spider-Man.
I want to fight you.
Hans. Bobby. I'm your white knight.
Kind of already said it. I'm a fan of his. Let's get Jean Girard on the show. F1 becoming increasingly more popular. I think they just held a race in Las Vegas last weekend. Becoming increasingly more popular in the United States. It's incredibly popular, obviously, internationally, but increasingly more popular here. And I think we can kind of parlay some of that success by, getting the master on the show.
I don't hate it. It would definitely be a fun episode, I think. Anything Sacha Baron Cohen related, I'm on board. My invite, I'm going with a different angle here. I'm going to go for a duo. You can't really split them up, I don't think, here. I'm going for Walker and Texas Ranger. We can do it either way, really, too. We can do, like, directly from this film, or we could do, like, a legacy sequel, in a sense, a legacy podcast, I would say, and bring them on a little bit older. Obviously, they just, like, the sound bites would be amazing. And I think we would have to bring a surprise guest, Chip, just to bring the house down at the end as well. Hopefully that actor is still alive.
I was gonna say the character of Chip.
Well, that's
but
hopefully both of them.
Sure, yeah, maybe the actor.
I think just pure chaos. I just want to recreate that dinner scene mostly. So yeah, bring me the trio of Chip and the kids. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
I'm just gonna look to see.
He's got to be close if he hasn't.
Who is it? Chip. Where's Chip at? Chip. Ted Manson plays Chip, and he unfortunately passed away 15 years ago in June of 2008. So,
all right. Honorary RIP to Chip, obviously, but we're gonna go the OG. Then we're gonna just pull him straight out of this movie and have a fun time. Yeah,
we'll bring him back. The people have been waiting 15 years. Fight Kody. I'm a fight Dennett. I don't like the dude. He's just bitching about how the car's $200,000 and Ricky Bobby this, Ricky Bobby that. Obviously, he's not that great of a husband either because his wife is just drunk all the time and he doesn't really seem to even notice or care. So yeah, overall, I think I'll punch him.
I respect it. Did he get clocked? I can't remember. I feel like
wouldn't surprise me. I think maybe it did happen. I don't know.
Maybe his wife. I'm saying I don't remember.
I won't fight his dad because his dad dies, but I'll fight him.
Good guy. Respect. My fight. I'm surprised you didn't pick this, honestly. I'm going with Ricky Bobby's dad. We haven't talked a ton about him. Obviously, most of it was in the bad, but he's just a dick. I mean, straight up. That his origin story scene of him showing up to like career day and just traumatizing Ricky Bobby by saying, if you're not first, you're last. I mean, that's pretty messed up. That's pretty much the 101 way of how to mess up a young child, I would say. So I think he deserves one. And like I said, the cougar's cool, but he didn't even let him know there was a cougar in the car. So he's just asking for him to die at the same time as well. So pretty much just for his entire life, I feel like he deserves one. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, like the cocaine cereal switch thing, like under the car. Nothing. Like, yeah,
that is tough.
I don't like him.
Calling the cops on your own kid just for him to drive again. A little extreme.
I guess it worked, but whatever. Night, Kody. I'm going to actually throw it back to that career day scene, and it's the Waffle House manager. He was just a guy there trying to, show up for his kid's career day, let the kids know what it's like to be a Waffle House manager, and then I just think he's a hero, and I love his line of,
"Ma'am, I don't know what else you want me to say to them, and I'm also gonna need to know where your commode's at."
He's a man of few words. He knows what he needs to do, and that's make waffles for everybody. So yeah, I respect it entirely. I think that's a fun night.
as everybody on the internet knows, Waffle Houses are essentially war zones. So being a manager of one, I think you're deserving of a knighting.
And just the fact that he's so calm in his demeanor as well is impressive. I feel like that would wear down on you.
It's a laid back man. You have to be.
Yeah. My night, I'm going off kilter here. I'm gonna knight the Cougar. Shout outs first off to my high school. Our mascot was the Cougars.
Go
So you
Cougs.
can't beat that. Okay. And then I think too, like he's got to be the first Cougar ever to be even, be in consideration to be knighted. So I think that's cool. And also just having like a massive cat like that driving shotgun with you. I don't know how many of the scenes like they did with Will Ferrell was real with that. I assume not too many, but I feel like just that vibe of like driving down the street with your windows down and there's a cougar sitting shotgun is pretty badass. So I think a knight is deserved for that alone.
I think I could befriend it as well. I think we'd be homies.
I think you might bite me, but we'll be boys.
Recast, Kody.
Bond. James Bond.
My name's Bond. James Bond.
The name's Bond. James Bond.
The name's Bond. James Bond.
Who do you want to recast?
Yeah, I got a couple. I'll kick it off with my Amy Adams replacement. Like I said, I kind of just want to swap her into the lead role here. Give me Leslie Bibb, but we'll bring some other people into audition as well. I was thinking like Fake Country, which I feel like is a hard niche. But I kind of just went in an entirely different direction. What about Rebel Wilson? What's she doing these days? I don't know, but I feel like she'd have a fun time doing like a country accent. Obviously, she's not from America, so I feel like she would really dive into kind of the fun side of a country, wife, I guess, in a sense. But yeah, why not? Anybody else but Amy Adams, I'm kind of on board here.
I think the back and forth with Will Ferrell would be better than Leslie.
She's got the comedic chops for sure to keep up with him.
I like that. So I have two takes. Let's change Jean Girard, just period, right? I suggested the female driver take, so let's start with that one first. And I'm gonna actually take somebody who's already in the movie, and you might think, oh, Amy Adams, right? Put her behind the wheel of the car. No, Jane Lynch is gonna be the driver of this movie, and she's gonna be the villain. Like that, come on, she doesn't need to be his mom. First of all, Jane Lynch is only like 8 years older than Will Ferrell in real life, so it doesn't really make sense that she'd be playing his mom. So have her just be the foil. I think she's a good comedic actor, and I think she would make sense as a race car driver as well.
I like that a lot, honestly. She's a badass too. Like she's intimidating. She could definitely play a good villain, I think, to bounce off of Will Ferrell. But I'm on board. Give me that sequel. I'm 100% on board.
She has to come back and she's a driver now. In that version of the movie where she's no longer his mother, I'm not going to make it like a mother is the villain thing. We'll bring in Sissy Spacek, and she can play the mom. And we're going to replace his dad with Sam Elliott. And it's just going to be the true Southerner round crew and some good actors.
Yeah, I'm surprised Sam Elliott wasn't in this movie, honestly, just with his accent. But yeah, I don't hate it. I do have a I don't even know. I got a
Jean Girard.
Jean Girard. Well, basically, it's confusing because the guy I'm replacing Sacha Baron Cohen with, his name is also Jean. I'm gonna go with Jean Dujardin, who you may
Oscar
not know.
winner.
Yeah, you may not know until you look him up, but then you'll probably know him. One of my favorite roles of his in The Wolf of Wall Street. Of course, he plays the Swiss banker. So I feel like that's a common reference. Like I said too, I mean, he was in The Artist. He's been in a ton of great stuff. I kind of just want a legitimate Frenchie in this role, just because like the playing up of the accent, I think, takes me out of the movie a little bit. So if you actually cast somebody who has a really good French accent, they can just have like a ultimate fun and kind of just be this crazy bad guy. And he's got a lot of range. I mean, you can't tell me Jean Dujardin doesn't have range. So I'd like to see him in this, mostly just because he's French.
I think that's actually a really good pick, Cody. I like that one a lot. That's a deep cut.
Thanks,
Shout out Jean Dujardin.
Yeah, I guarantee most of you guys listening like, who the hell is Jean Dujardin? But look him up. You probably know who he is. He's got a recognizable face. Yeah.
If we want to do just like the dumber version of the movie, but it's still not problematic, we're not going to make him gay. Just make him like a city boy kind of race driver. Because like there's NASCAR drivers who are more liberal, more, urban pop, like, it's not all Southern folk, right? So you could still have a villain like that. And I'd have Bradley Cooper play that role. And again, this is prime time. Bradley Cooper's doing the comedies, but he's also a fucking handsome motherfucker, and he can play a souped up city boy behind the wheel of a car.
I like that. Is he in like Wedding Crashers shape where he's like a tank, or are we going a little skinnier Bradley Cooper? What are we
A little skinnier, maybe a little later. Think War Dogs Bradley Cooper.
I think all right, fair enough. I think that would be funny though too, because you could play off like more of the fighting culture in NASCAR, which we get a little bit of that, but we could actually have like an extended fist fight scene, I think, between like Ricky Bobby and Bradley Cooper, which would be fun.
Yeah, and you could like make them long-term arch rivals rather than having just like an outside Frenchman coming in. Yeah,
I'm on board. I like both those ideas a lot. Get this guy in the writers' room, man.
Or Bradley Cooper could be just like Canadian or something. Moving on to the rating.
But do you like me?
Kody, what do you want to give this out of 69?
This is a tough one. I feel like comedies in general are obviously very, very subjective. Obviously, I mean, this is my pick, so I like this movie a good deal. I think I'm going to slot it in at a 53 out of 69. I think that's probably going to be miles above you, but I like this movie a lot, even though obviously there are a lot of massive flaws, especially in the pacing. But I think the good stuff is so good that I'm going to put it on that 53 threshold.
I'm going to give this a 41 out of 69, which, is similar to some recent ratings we've done. I've been in like the 43, 42 range on last, what was it that we did?
It probably, and
yeah, it was.
What else did you do? You didn't look?
It was it, and I mean, Captain Marvel last week I gave a 43, Ratatouille I gave 43, gave Insidious a 42. I'm gonna give this a 41. I think it's worse than all those movies, but only slightly.
Hashtag justice for Ratatouille, but yeah, I think that makes sense for your overall placement. I like it.
You might also like it.
Who knows? You might like it. It's a killer rush.
What are you recommending to the people who are fans of Talladega Nights, the Ballad of Ricky Bobby?
I mean, off the bat, I would recommend most of other Adam McKay's productions. You haven't seen those. Like I said, the other guys especially, I feel like is an underseen one in a sense, and one of my favorites of his. But other than that, moving past Adam McKay, a couple just classic comedy picks here. Happy Gilmore. I mean, Adam Sandler's best. A great sports movie. If you want to see a great sports movie, go watch Happy Gilmore. And then after that, just go watch Billy Madison too, because it's really good. But yeah, I'm sticking with The Sandman this week. Comedies can go all sorts of directions, but also, I mean, Succession too. If you haven't seen Succession, again, it doesn't have a ton to do with Adam McKay, but it's pretty awesome. So those are my overarching whatever.
Definitely go check out The Big Short. That's my favorite of Adam McKay's movies.
Those are my overarching recommendations because I can't remember words. But yeah, Korbin, what would you say you might also like here?
For me, The Big Short is definitely my favorite Adam McKay movie. I like him as a filmmaker. It's up and down. I think Vice is pretty solid. Again, I've talked about I think I was just disappointed with Don't Look Up, but I really like The Big Short. It's one of my 25, 30 favorite movies of all time. So check that one out. In terms of racing movies, Ford v Ferrari fucking slaps. 2019, the year of the movies, Matt Damon, Christian Bale. I know it's not really that similar to this, but if you like cars that go fast, go watch Ford versus Ferrari. The true dad movie of the 2010s.
I saw that movie a little bit later, and I feel like it was overhyped for me a little bit. I do like it a lot. Matt Damon, Christian Bale. I mean, what a cast. You can't go wrong. Another great racing movie too. Shout out Rush.
I was, Chris I don't like that one as much, but I knew you'd bring it up for me, Kody.
I love that movie. Great movie. You got any other Rex?
That's all I've got. The final question, Kody.
All right, listen, I got one last question for you.
Mm-hmm.
I'll start here. If you were a NASCAR driver, what car would you have as your sponsor?
Ooh, we talking like from this movie or just in general?
What would be your sponsor in general, in real life? What's your brand?
I feel like I like very specific things. So this shouldn't be that hard.
I want the Panda Express car. That's my take.
Ooh, that's a great choice. That like massive panda just on your hood would be badass
Exactly,
as well.
yeah.
Little red, black and white car, that'd be nasty. what are things I like? I feel like I like Super
Give me the Jimmy John's car, Cody. I don't know. The Chipotle
Jimmy
car.
John.
Or Qdoba,
Yeah,
sorry.
Qdoba, yeah. Ooh, Doba would probably have to be my number one. I would go out and promote them like crazy, but yeah, Doba. What? There's got to be other food. Fasoli's, that's a great
You're
one.
not a big
Wendy's.
brand guy. I will say that. Maybe
I'm
you could
really
be like
not.
the Xbox car, I guess. You could do, pick.
like
Is there a studio?
specific-
Netflix? Could you? You're not a big the Hulu man. I don't know.
But the Max purple car, that'd be fun.
Ooh.
What about
Days
like
of David Zaslav's bitch?
Hellman's Pickles? That's a great one. That's a great sponsor.
There you go.
Or anything pasta related. How about like I said
Spaghetti
Fazoli's, right?
sauce?
Olive Garden. Yeah, give me Prego. Give me a Prego sponsorship. Yeah.
I'd be the
There you go.
ragu car personally, but that's just me.
I respect it. What did you have a sponsor in mind?
For you, Cody, Fortnite.
Yeah, I would like that one. That would be weird though, because would you have to like wear a skin as your suit? You probably would.
I think you just automatically get a skin in the game. You get to hang out
gotta
with
be
Eminem.
banana. Gotta be banana. My final question for you here. I don't know. I got a couple, if I'm being honest. So we'll run through both these. But first off, this is a hypothetical. If we put these three people in a race car on a racetrack, who do we think is going to win the race? Chip, Walker, and Texas Ranger. Who's coming out on top?
Which one? I gotta figure out which one is which one's Walker, which one's Texas Ranger.
I think Texas Ranger's the ginger kid.
And then there's no fucking way I'm gonna, because if I search Walker, okay, here we go. Walker, Texas Ranger, Tyler, I think next. I think curly-headed fucker, who very well may be just John C. Reilly's child. Do we know that's a conspiracy theory right there? Just looking at him right
facts.
now.
Going with Walker.
Yeah, I'm gonna take Walker, and then Chip is getting last place just because rest in peace to Tom and his soul, but I think he's having a heart attack on this finish line or on the starting line. And then Texas Ranger, he chugged a little bit too much Mountain Dew. He'd crash about 3/4 of the way through.
True. Those spider monkey skills aren't going to help behind the wheel, unfortunately. And I did want to quickly go over to your second question as well, but I don't know if you've been seeing on Twitter, there's been a lot of debate recently about Cars and who is the GOAT in the Cars universe. Now, again, this is not really talking about this episode, but do you have any thoughts on who the GOAT in racing in the Cars universe is? And did you see any of this discourse on Twitter?
I think I did see some of it. I'm just going to say this right off the bat. I'm not a big Cars head. I'm kind of out on Cars. I have seen them, but I like who's the old guy? What's his mentor from the first one? What's that guy?
The King. The King.
Yeah.
Don.
Yeah, Don. He's definitely the GOAT. Even though obviously Lightning McQueen is better than him because whatever.
I feel like his name's
it's more
Chip or
about
something.
feel.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, the obvious choice is Lightning McQueen here, but there are some other some stranglers. But I just wanted to bring
They
that up.
won
just
3
because-
Piston Cups before. Like, I don't fucking care. Doc Hudson.
Well, the thing is, too, yeah, it's a big argument with Doc Hudson because he won 3, and that was his rookie year, the first one he won, and then he had a bad crash and he was done after that. But Lightning McQueen, he's got I think like 6 or 7 all time, but obviously each had like a longer career. And then there's this new Jax guy who was in the third one who had a bunch of titles, but then he ended up losing to like this basically like trainer who's the lead. I think her name's like Holly or whatever. I think that's actually the girl's name in the second one. I don't even know what the girl's name in the third one is. But yeah, there's been a lot of debate on Twitter, so I thought that was funny. But my GOAT is probably Lightning McQueen, if I have to say so. Yeah. But the Don guy, he was racing for like 40 years. Like that race we saw in the original Cars, he is like a grandpa car at that point. I didn't realize he was that old in the movie because he won a Piston Cup. I was doing a lot of research on this, if you can't tell.
I'm just letting you go for it, Cody.
In the 70s, he won a Piston Cup. And then Cars was released 06. I said, like you believe. I think he won like 1 or 2 before that. So I think he won in like 03 or 04 or something. So his just, longevity I thought was impressive, but I feel like you can't really go against, Lightning McQueen in the GOAT conversation here.
Did they make 3 movies about that guy? No, they fucking didn't. The 3-movie mini draft.
Well, it is draft day.
We're doing Adam McKay movies. We didn't want to spoil too much at the beginning of the show. I think, who has the first pick?
Oh, what was our last episode? I think it was your pick, right? So I probably have the first pick.
Yeah. All right, Kody, take it away. Take the first pick.
You don't sound too happy about it. I mean, like we said, Adam McKay's filmography here, he's got a lot of great stuff. It's hard to choose between my favorite comedies and my favorite of his newer stuff, which again is also comedies, but I'm gonna go with The Big Short here. I really, really enjoy this movie. And especially now that I'm working in the mortgage industry, it actually makes a lot more sense on a rewatch. So I think it's really cool. It's kind of just like a movie about my life in a sense that hopefully never happens again. But great performances, unbelievable script. I think his best script by far. And yeah, I think it is my favorite of his. So I got to take it first.
Definitely is a hit for me. I already said it's my favorite. So screw you, Kody, for pulling that from me. I think I'm gonna take. Yeah, this is a tough one. I mean, I feel like to me, like The Big Short is like ahead above everything else, and then it's kind of pretty even. I do think it's a better movie than Talladega Nights, so I'm gonna take Vice, unfortunately, here for the number 2 pick.
Interesting choice. That was on my radar. Like I said earlier, I like Vice a good deal. Really interesting, just melodrama and satirical stuff on our country's history and recent history too, which is pretty scary. But cool. That kind of leaves the door wide open for me on the pure comedy route. I'm not going to take Talladega Nights since obviously we're doing it here. I'm going to go with Step Brothers. I think again, I like Step Brothers probably a little bit more than Talladega Nights. Just the duo, of course, the classic John C. Reilly, Will Ferrell, but the parents angle I think is 10 times more interesting in Step Brothers. And of course, you got Adam Scott being a psychopath and Rob Riggle, and a lot of fun side characters there too. But yeah, quotable standpoint, they're probably pretty even. But I think just from an overall script standpoint, Step Brothers is my favorite pure comedy from McKay. So I'll take that at number 2 here.
The Nina, the Pinta, the Santa Maria. Iconic stuff.
They just did a reunion for that, I think, too. And Snoop Dogg, I think, was involved. Yeah.
I'll see you at the Catalina Wine Mixer. I'm gonna take the one that you want next. I think The Other Guys, Kody. And the reason I actually don't love this movie, but it's got the bullet time sequence, which is good filmmaking. So I'm taking it for that specifically.
I was trying to, just for the filmmaking strategies. Yeah, great movie. That was definitely gonna be my next pick. Really fun cameo from The Rock and Sam Jackson, super briefly. In the specific scene where Will Ferrell is talking about his tribe of tuna, how he's gonna annihilate Mark Wahlberg's lion pack. I think one of the best, just like off the cuff ramblings in a comedy movie ever. So shout out. My last pick here, I'm actually not gonna go with I think anything that you're gonna expect here. Like we said, Adam McKay doesn't have too many movies, but he does have a couple short films, Korbin, and I'm gonna pick one here. I'm gonna go with The Landlord. Not sure if you guys have heard of this, but if you haven't, go look it up immediately. It's basically just a little kid berating Will Ferrell because he's not able to pay rent for the month. Really weird and off kilter, but I think it's really, really funny. So I'm gonna take it with my last pick here.
Interesting. So can I take like the pilot episode of Succession then?
Sure, if you want. This is wide open, bud.
Yeah, I don't really want Anchorman that much. I wouldn't take Anchorman 2. I think you would have to go the original if you're going to do it. But I'll take the pilot of Succession because fuck you, Kody.
Interesting. What even happens in the pilot? They play baseball? Is that right?
Yeah, the iconic softball scene. Of course, a little Brian Cox has a brain hemorrhage at the end of it. It's all right. Roman has a girlfriend that doesn't exist later and kids that don't exist later.
That's not important. I like that pick. I think I like The Landlord a little bit better, but they're pretty even. Yeah.
I couldn't bring myself to take Don't Look Up. I'm sorry. I love you, Leo.
Shut up, Timmy.
Weekly watches.
Hey, honey, what are you watching?
Kody, it's been a minute, so I'm sure there's a ton. But let's start with the classic Survivor. just watched it last night.
Ooh.
We've had a couple interesting episodes here. Of course, recently the return of the auction. What did you think of that?
I don't hate it. I think obviously they need to make some changes from where they had left it. And I like that like it's surrounded by food. That's kind of the cool thing about the newer seasons is they're not giving these people food. That was kind of one of the biggest qualms of some of the modern seasons before this new age in quotations mark. But I like that it is centered around the food, but there is also stakes. Like somebody's vote is still at risk. So I like that. But I thought the vote was really interesting. Obviously, a couple massive votes here back to back. Pretty great episodes back to back weeks, I would say, surprisingly, especially after episode 1, Korbin. If you remember our reactions on the podcast after that, I was pretty much out on this season. But this Blind Side of Kelly, I think, will probably be the best episode of the season if I'm taking a lucky guess here. I thought it was really well handled. I was surprised. I didn't see it coming. And it took out a massive character who a lot of people were connected with. So I think it'll have a lot of repercussions going forward as well. But yeah, what do you think about the season? Do you like the auction and the way they set it up?
I've only watched a couple like older seasons, and the auction was present in a few of them. So it's cool to like see something that seemed like a staple of Survivor, make its return. I don't know if I think it'll maybe need a little bit of tweaking with the way like the lose a vote thing works. Maybe like, because I hated that people could just be like, I'm bidding $600 and I'm bidding all my money right now, and then they're out of like the D did that on the chocolate shit. Like I wish it was almost like you could only bid as much money as like the net like that would like block out a person barely. Like you couldn't just give all your money up at once, because then that would actually cause a little bit of make things interesting rather than just like, oh, every time here's the next person. And then it came down to Bruce with $80. I will say, I think it's fair that he's the one who got screwed because of the whole, oh, I'm not going to hurry and look for money bit, and ended up batting him in the ass. But cool new invention of an old thing that I really like. And I'm excited to hopefully see them do it. But again, play around with it. I thought it was dumb that they then did the like, oh, I'm going to give you rice in this very next immunity challenge after they had all had food. But I loved that Jeff got a little stabby with it to raise the stakes.
Yeah. Mean Jeff is back. Enough of this.
The quitters have pissed him off. No more stuffing out their torches. It's official.
I don't blame him. Quitters pissed me off as well. So shout out Jeff. But I think it's funny that we got like the cancel culture Jeff for like 3 seasons, and now like Dick Jeff is back. It's like cutting the rice. Be like, you need to make a decision now. Bouncing off too what you said with the auction, just bring back a classic. I feel like this season they have been pandering to the fans a lot more, which obviously I like. Like they brought back the overall theme song, which is amazing, and they should have never cut to begin with. The auction too is something like classic Survivor fans have been clamoring for a while. It's not my
They haven't done it since season 30. Is that right?
Yes,
I think that's what they said.
I think it was. Is Worlds Apart season 30? I think it might be 29. No, I think San Juan del Sur is 29. You're right. Yeah, Worlds Apart is 30. Great season. But basically it kind of got blown up at the auction in a sense. I don't know if I call it a great season actually. Half the characters on that are just complete dickheads, if we're being honest. Shout out Rodney, who never came back, unfortunately. But yeah, basically they just burned down the auction, and it pissed Jeff off so much that he's like, we're never doing it again. So I like that they did bring it back under Jeff's kind of, rule in a sense. Like it seems like he had creative control mostly over this. But yeah, I'm excited to see where the season goes, man. I don't really know where it is. I feel like
I will say, I think the Kelly move was the right, like the people that made the move, I think it was the right strategic move for them, and it puts them in a better place. I think Austin, Drew, Dee, and Julie are in the power position right now. And if they can maintain that, it'll be interesting. But very rarely does the people in power at 8 stay in power for long.
Yeah, the question is obviously, when are they going to target each other?
Yeah,
and the issue with it is as well, I don't know. Obviously, they had this solid 4 from the beginning.
Well, then we got Emily.
Right, she's gonna. I mean, if they just go to the final 5, like Dee and Julie are pretty much screwed, because obviously Emily is going to go with the boys. I think it is a bad move for Dee specifically as well. But it's a great move for Emily. I think Emily's long game here is shaping up to be pretty good, especially in episode 1. I hate her. I couldn't stand her guts from the minute I heard her talk. But I think out of this cast, other than Drew, Dee, and Austin, I think Emily has the best chance to win by far. So I'm excited to see kind of where they, or I guess where she goes in the in the story. I feel like it's scripted, but it's not. But it might be. I don't know.
Hoping for a final exciting few weeks. Any big prediction, Kody?
Ooh, we should do winner picks. I like Drew or Emily. Those are my two. That's my horses.
Drew's not gonna win. No shot. Loser nerds like him never win. I'm just kidding. But no, that's not the survivor archetype. I would say Emily feels strong, or
You were
Julie.
talking about Bruce, weren't you?
No, I mean he's in a good spot. He's got an idol. I mean, he won immunity, like sure, but he'll. I don't know. The Bello people are done so.
I think Bruce might go all the way to the end, but he's not getting any votes.
No.
Like that idol is obviously going to be nice, and he might just start waving it around right now, honestly, after that vote too. And then people are going to be like, why would we vote out Bruce? Nobody's going to vote for him at the end. So that'll be interesting too. But yeah, a better season than I thought overall. So pretty positive. Let's start over you though, man. I'm sure you got tons of recs. Like you said, it's been a while. What have you been watching?
Yeah, I've seen some new releases, some potential Oscars talkers. So I'll get started with The Holdovers, new film from Alexander Payne starring Paul Giamatti. I'll say right off the bat, I thought the performances were like all across the board were fantastic. Davine Joy Randolph, that's my pick for best supporting best actress right now. Early lock in there, Kody. So bodes well for your way too early Oscar picks, but she was incredibly moving in this, and kind of like her story with this deceased son that she has. It's a movie that plays exactly as you kind of expect it to. There's maybe some surprises, but nothing that's like, it's pretty telegraphed. It's a rather heartwarming story, and there's nothing about it that feels incredibly risky or like new. It is a movie that's very much playing on the idea of the movies in the 70s were great and the movies in the 80s were great. I think it's incredibly well made, incredibly well acted. It's not my favorite of the year, but it's a great one to see with your parents over the next couple months. I'll say that. If you are on Black Friday, want to go check out a movie with the fam, go see The Holdovers. It's going to be continually opening wider as the weeks go on. So maybe it'll even be closer to Christmas when you have a chance to see it. Definitely a great parent flick. I also saw Priscilla, which I didn't quite like as much, and I don't really think it has as much of a Oscars chance. By the way, Holdovers might be a sleeper, like could come in and win Best Picture pick. Like it's kind of like Coda in that way of like, it's a movie that makes you feel good at the end. It's a movie that will play to an older academy. I don't know. It might have a lot of things going for it, but the Oppenheimer bomb that it is, and quite, not actually, but the power of the nuke is pretty strong. We'll see. But in terms of Priscilla, I thought it was an interesting movie. They don't use any of the real Elvis music because they aren't allowed to. They didn't have permission from the estate. So I think the ways that it navigates that are really interesting. And the music it does choose is actually pretty successful. Outside of that, I just thought it was an okay movie. Like I'm not really sure. It's kind of one of those ones where I wish I would have seen more of Priscilla's life after the point at which the movie ends, because it kind of, not to spoil too much, but it ends at the point in which she leaves Elvis's life, which is where the book that it's based on ends. But she went on to, have a career in acting and do other things. And I think it could be a more powerful story focusing on, seeing the things that happens after she leaves, rather than just like that this was like an abusive relationship and that sucked. Because to me, that's kind of just like what the message was. And it definitely was a very abusive relationship, and Elvis groomed this 14-year-old girl to be his wife, and that is not good. A movie that I saw that I really, really liked, and I don't think you've seen, and I would recommend you check out, is The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. Kody, have you ever seen that one?
I've not. That's one of the few Finchmans I haven't seen.
Yeah, so
Craig, shout out. Yeah.
Obviously, I've said I'm a big Fincher fan in the past. This still comes in, I think, is like my fourth favorite of his movies, but it's a 4.5-star movie. Like, I really enjoyed the procedural nature of it. Obviously, it's based on the first part of a popular Swedish trilogy, in which there's even a trilogy of movies that was made in Sweden following the story that you can go see. But it's Fincher doing what Fincher does best. Dark, brooding, procedural, extremely gross, extremely just like at points, I had to skip a point of the movie. It's really hard to watch, but there's the power of the method in the movie that he is able to capture better than anyone else. And when it comes to a crime and a, like a investigation story, he is the master of that, whether it be in Seven, whether it be in Zodiac, and whether it be him being a killer in The Killer. He's so great, and definitely recommend The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. Also rewatched Gone Girl with the David Fincher director commentary as well, which is just a fun treat if you're ever looking to rewatch a previous movie we've done on the podcast. Also saw Saltburn, another new release. Kody, this movie's fucking insane. It's so fucked.
Crazy.
I really can't say too much without spoiling the actions of it, but Barry Keoghan is absolutely unhinged. The visuals are incredible, but it's a lot of stuff in front of your face without a lot of substance behind it. I think that's my just general feeling on it. And Emerald Fennell is not a filmmaker that I connect with. I think Promising Young Woman is a problematic movie in its own regard. And I think there's incredible style, incredible composition, but it's not doing a whole lot beyond that. There's some scenes that I want to talk about with people, but I just can't because nobody's fucking seen this movie. So for that very reason, like it begs, it makes you want to, talk about the fucked up crazy shit that happens. But it's something. Hot people are hot. I'll say that. A lot of hot people. But
okay. We like that. We'll talk about that more when I check it out. Yeah.
And the last one, The Marvels, Kody. Let's talk about that one. What did you think about it?
I personally was not a big fan of too much in it. I mean, most of the story beats I thought were utterly atrocious. But the main three, the core three, the Marvels, I thought they were good, but kind of everything surrounding them, I just really disliked. The villain was terrible. All the Nick Fury stuff was
What's
terrible.
her name?
I don't know. It's like Cobbin Burr something. That's close, I bet, but that's not it. It's like trying to name off Jude Law's character.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, it has very similar problems to the first movie as well. I think this would just be better as a Miss Marvel movie, and that's kind of what it is. It's very clear that probably isn't what it was originally intended to be, and then they realized they had a fucking shit show on their hands of these last couple of movies, so they were like, let's cut this thing down to 1 hour 42 minutes and only leave in the Miss Marvel family stuff. That stuff works. I think it's good. I love Iman Vellani. I thought Brie Larson and Tiana Paris were, especially Tiana Paris. Like, I think she's a great actress, but like they didn't give her like anything to do in this other than to just like be sad that she hasn't seen Brie Larson in 20 years. And first of all, I think that's a fucking dumb story beat that they barely explain in the film overall. And yeah, I'm not a fan of too much. And I thought the way it ended was stupid, but and it's still better than Quantumania. So
that's a hard disagree for me, but I agree. I think Iman Vellani is by far the best thing in this movie. I was a big fan of the Miss Marvel show, and like I said, it's kind of just carrying over that entirely with her family stuff, which I did like a lot. I think like the switching of powers, that's a good enough concept to like start the movie, but it kind of just didn't go anywhere. And then once they kind of
again, it's just
out,
like everything just doesn't go anywhere. Like it leads to a cool montage, but in the final, and yeah.
Basically, I think what they wanted it to lead to was the post-credit scenes, obviously. I think a lot of the ending was chopped up a little bit just to get, like you said, Tiana Paris in that specific spot. What'd you think about that, Tia? I mean, we gotta get your thoughts on spoiler alert, obviously, if you haven't seen the Marvels, but we're gonna talk spoilers for the end credits. What do you think about some CGI there, man?
Yeah, I mean, not the best CGI overall. I think it was disappointing. I felt just kind of disappointed because to me it was like, oh, this is what we're gonna do, and we're really doing that. And I don't know, I don't want to see those characters. again in this universe, to be honest. I want a new thing.
The thing is, I don't really understand it because
Well,
are they bringing back? Well, obviously, but like, are they bringing back the OG X-Men cast? Like, are we getting Patrick Stewart again? Are we actually getting Kelsey Grammer again for like 5 more movies? Like, I don't want to see these washed up actors in these roles. So obviously, it could just be like a multiversal story where they all end up dying or something. But I just don't find it interesting to bring back the original cast again when they've done it like 10 times already.
Do you think Tiana Paris is in Deadpool 3 at all? Like, is that a connection there? I kind of threw this out to you before that's like maybe what's happening. I mean, I think obviously this is all setting up Secret Wars, right? Like that's what it's all about.
I would think that we wouldn't see Tiana Paris. Maybe an end credit scene or like the very last scene of Deadpool 3. I'd be surprised
Lashana
if she's
Lynch?
the main player. I like Lashana. Like the thing is, I like all of these actresses in the Marvels movie here, but just the story is terrible. And I think Marvel is going to be doing a lot of rebuilding. What do you think too about the Kate Bishop? Like, do you have any interest in like a Young Avengers storyline? Like, I don't even know. Is that going to be a show? Is that going to be a movie? I don't know.
Well, right, because it's something that has not been officially announced, right? But it's been clear for 4 years now that they've been slowly setting this up. It just feels like, again, it's the thing of like, in the early days of Marvel, they didn't really know what they were doing, but they managed to eventually focus in on the Thanos thing and like stick with it. Whereas like now they're kind of putting out feelers of like 6 different things that they're doing and they don't really want to commit to any of them. So if they would just fucking commit to something and like be like, we're going all in on it, sure, I'd be into it. But when you're like are Wanda's kids from the WandaVision show, like, are those actors going to show up? Is the kid who was the grandson of the other Captain America super soldier, the African-American man from Falcon and the Winter Soldier, is that kid that they were maybe backdoor, like, is that act? Like, that's the other thing I don't know. Like, are we supposed to care about these people or characters, or are they going to do what they did with Cassie Lang and recast as some new actor whenever the time shows up? Because also the ages are all over the place in terms of like Haley Steinfeld. Yeah, she's young, but she's not like a kid anymore. She is an adult. I mean, I'm not really sure what they're doing.
Yeah, she's an adult, 100%.
Whereas like Wanda's kids are children, so I don't know.
Yeah. What about Hulk's kid? How old is he? We don't know.
Right. Yeah, I forgot about that too. She-Hulk. I mean, again, like there's probably even, I mean, Miss Marvel, of course, being the leader. I like that idea.
Ralph Boner too. He's got to come back, right?
Yeah.
He's good. Yeah. A big mess with the Marvels.
We love Goose, and we got a lot of cats, Cody. Our cat content was fulfilled. So they hit the mark on that note.
I was happy with the Goose and the cat content. Kind of a fun moment at the end. I think that fits like the tone of the movie, but everything else kind of anyways,
it fucking sucks the way Nia DaCosta is being treated in the media right now.
Yeah,
just the like, here's the headline from the Hollywood Reporter, why did Nia DaCosta not show up to the cast and crew screening? And then you read the article and it's like, well, it was on her birthday and she already had plans and she was also not even invited to be there. And just like all this shit that Marvel's, the Marvel leaking out that she wasn't around for the post-production, like I said in last episode, after they had fucking pushed the movie back a year and a half. Like, she shouldn't really be directing movies. Like I don't really know why. Like, I'd rather she be doing something better than this. She's like, I don't think she's a blockbuster comic book movie director. Like, I think she could make cool horror movies. I think she'd make cool dramas. But why are we putting people like fucking Bowden and Fleck directing these movies? It doesn't make any sense.
I agree. And then in a sense, when these movies are bad, and similar with like Chloe Zhao, like they take a really
same thing.
Modern female director,
just fucking ruining people.
Their names just get dragged through the mud at the end of it because it must be their fault. Nah, dude, it's Marvel's fault, and they need to make a lot of changes. But this was, I think, a big enough box office bump to maybe wake them up a little bit. So it'll be interesting to see what comes of it. But like I said, I'll go through a couple of my recs. Obviously, the Marvels already touched on. I will touch quickly as well on Loki season 2, which I actually would highly recommend, especially to you, Corbina. But It's a bit of a slow burn. The first few episodes, you're probably just gonna have to grind through it whenever Kihei Kwan is on the screen. Shout out to that guy. But the last two episodes, I really do enjoy a lot, and I think it does actually kind of bring a cool scope to the overall Marvel universe. So I'd recommend it. Tom Hiddleston's awesome. I hope we see him again. I would guess that we won't, so I'd recommend that out. I'd recommend that highly because it might be the last time we do see him. Other random stuff. Korbin, have you watched the new Nathan Fielder series called The Curse?
I don't have a Showtime account, so my plan is to wait until it is fully released because they're doing episodic releases.
So I watched the first episode because it's on Paramount Plus as well, along with Showtime. I think Showtime's kind of just like an add-on to Paramount Plus now.
Yeah, I think you have to have the Showtime add-on, which I don't for Paramount Plus, which we get it, Kody. Fucking Mr. Moneybags over there got Showtime and
Actually,
Paramount Plus.
I still have Paramount Plus from my mom, but I do have a lot of other streaming services, so I appreciate the shout out. Anyways, The Curse, I watched the first episode. It is weird as shit, dude. I didn't really like it, if I'm being completely honest. Another episode came out, and I don't plan on watching it anytime soon. You might have to just watch the first episode because it is fucking weird, dude. But shout out Nathan Fielder. I still like that guy. Emma Stone's awesome. I didn't realize Benny Safdie is like the other guy in it, and they have like
the co-director of the show.
They have complete control over the entire show. Like it's those three pretty much. I feel like are just making the show. The concept's weird. The comedy stuff, I like some of it, but some of it I feel like they just go way too far. Also, Corbin Burnson is in this first episode. Shout out Sight. He's got a really weird scene, I'll tell you what, but you might just have to look up specifically.
Well, I've seen talk of prosthetics on Twitter, so I know some things that do happen.
Yeah, it's I don't know. Look it up.
Here's what I'll say. I plan to watch it, and I think I'm gonna really try and watch the whole thing. Maybe I'll hate it and I'll be turned off. But I've seen the 20% Rotten Tomato score that continues to get lower and lower as each episode releases. But I really like Nathan Fielder. I really, really loved the rehearsal that he did. And even if I don't like the show, all of the ancillary marketing material that Emma Stone and Nathan Fielder are doing around this show is enough and worth it. I got to shout out the Anyone But You, the 24-hour turnaround on the Glenn Powell, Sydney Sweeney parody video that they did before the trailer of the latest episodes of The Curse. They're working overtime. Their appearances on Jimmy Kimmel have been great. I love Emma Stone, and this is cool. I think this is a good press tour for her, getting a chance to promote stuff. She's got Poor Things coming out in the next couple of weeks. We're going to see a lot more of her, and I think it's cool that she's involved with this, and that Benny Safdie's there too. It's a really fun project.
Yeah, I think I'm out on Benny Safdie too.
Did you heartbreaking news? Did you hear about the Adam Sandler Safdie brothers project is going to be delayed because they were hoping to film it over this NBA season, and strikes push stuff back. So we might not get it for a while.
It's all right. I think they're a good pairing. I think regardless, whenever that comes out, I'll be excited to see it, obviously. But yeah, the series is wild. Like you said, all the promotional material is amazing, and I'm on board with that. But it's also like, I think it's like 50-minute episodes. Like it's ridiculously fucking long, and I hated watching the first one, so I don't think I'll go back. But other than that, I have checked out some other movies here recently. Actually just a couple, other than the Marvels. So first off, on Max as well, Blue Beetle was released on there. So I was like, hey, I missed that in theaters. I'll definitely check it out. And I actually really enjoyed it. I feel like my big downside of this movie was I saw pretty much the entirety of the movie in the trailer, which of course is a classic DC superhero thing to do. But kind of just like the family dynamic I liked a lot. I like George Lopez like 10 times more than I thought he would in the movie. And it was cool, like the world building they did as well with like the original Blue Beetle hero. And they set up for a sequel as well, which I'm kind of on board with. If I'm being honest. Like I said, I think the family dynamic was the standout. They had me tearing up at the end, Korbin. which is tough from a blue.
I got a little wet-eyed too. This was the thing that like this is something I think I mentioned. Like this is a story about like that feels maybe even more so like a couple of years ago. Like feels very relevant. Like it's a story about immigrants. Like there's a scene in this where like basically ICE shows up to this Latino family's house and is like breaking, like, you know, ripping them apart from each other. And then there's a spoiler, a death that happens, right? That's very emotional in the movie. And yeah, I think it is at its core, like it's a fun family story. It's just, you know, the CGI is fine. The fucking shitty HUD is bad. The weird alien, like it fails in a lot of unfortunate ways. It feels like a movie that probably would play really well on a streaming service, like it was supposed to.
Also, Susan Sarandon is just terrible. Just
what a villain.
Yeah, that's bad. But it does have like a Goose-esque death, Top Gun, where I was surprised and it kind of hit me in the heartstrings. So shout out Blue Beetle. If you haven't seen it, I would recommend that on Max as well. And then the last thing that I checked out on Max 2, I was trying to just clear out everything because there's a bunch of stuff leaving as well. But I checked out Silence of the Lambs, which is the first time I'd ever actually seen it too. So that was fun, but just mostly Anthony Hopkins being a complete weirdo, which I did enjoy, I'm not gonna lie. And then you have like the Jodie Foster kind of subplot, which I didn't enjoy as much. I think it is interesting looking at, you know, the psychoanalysis of a killer in a sense, especially like a serial killer, like the one that was portrayed, obviously. And then kind of everything that goes along with that, with trying to track them down, was super cool. The Anthony Hopkins reveal too of like the face thing was awesome, and I didn't see it coming, even though I've seen the episode of The Office about 100 times where Dwight makes a Silence of the Lambs reference. But that like prosthetic makeup is really cool and probably one of the best reveals of all time, if I'm being honest. But yeah, great performance from pretty much the whole crew, and something I would recommend as well. But that was pretty much. Oh, and then lastly, a couple tiny things. It's college basketball season, so I've been into that a lot. That's why I haven't seen as much of the recent stuff. And then as well too, I've been rewatching Survivor season 40, Winners at War. Pretty good season, Korbin. I think you've seen some of that, but
I did watch some of it with you, I think, live when it was on.
It's awesome. But if you're a Survivor fan, I'd recommend that. But because I don't know, like this new season kind of just got me rejuvenated a little bit. I was like, hey, remember when Survivor was good? So I kind of just wanted to go back. I'm past the merge. I'm like 3 votes deep into the merge, so I've been binging it pretty good.
Anybody canceled yet?
I don't think so. Actually, season 40 was pretty good from the cancel culture. Just because, I mean, they paid everybody pretty good money to come back, so nobody was a massive dick. Wendell is kind of like the quote-unquote villain character, I guess, who Michelle has real beef with, especially in the pre-merge. But I like Wendell. He's a cool dude. But the ending of season 40, it's going to make me tear up again as well. So I have an update on that. But yeah, that was all my works this week.
Good stuff, Kody. Glad you're continuing to watch stuff. I would recommend checking out other episodes of our podcast, as well as the new series MK300. We will also be back with some First Friday 5, hopefully in the month of December. And thanks for listening.
Stay tuned. More to come. Stay capping.
Peace.
Peace.
What you've just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it.